Hello, my name is Matthew Gaines, and my purpose for being here and being on this screen today is really about an expression, just an authentic expression in the moment. I haven't pre planned this or anything like that, but I just felt compelled to get on a video. And since we have this wonderful technology these days, the world literally is my platform anytime I want, as is the same for anybody else, just like Facebook, Instagram, all these things that we use. And so many millions of eyes and minds are absorbed in and consuming. So why not express myself in a way that is authentic, that I would like to be able to be a contribution in a positive way for others? And so I was thinking to myself in this moment, how can I do that? My life has been pretty much a mess for so long. If you really knew who I was, a lot of people might think that they knew who I am because I'm a yoga instructor, I'm a massage therapist. I work also hand in hand with Native American teacher and medicine man, close friend of mine, and just a beautiful inspiration for me in my life that has played out a very important role for my own personal growth and healing. But anyway, regardless of all that, and regardless of the appearance that I may have been given off to many people, or the perception most people might have of me because of the masks that I wear, because of the appearance that I perform in, a lot of people don't really know the truth about me and all the mistakes that I've made, all the failures that I've had, all of the things that I've ran away from, the responsibilities due to my own fear, my own sense of lack, my own doubt. And I'm not saying this in a way to be proud of that or anything like that, but in a way of doing my best to share, first and foremost, vulnerably and authentically. And second of all, and really primarily, to give something that is of value to other people out there who might be able to relate to someone like me, or someone like me who has had the life that I've lived. I can say this: no matter what you've done, no matter what has happened to you, no matter what, you can always come out on top. Things may happen to us, and we may do things, but we can always forgive ourselves. That's the beauty of free will that we've been given. We've been given the free will to be able to choose to think whatever we want, to choose to perceive however we want. The very perception that we're living out of right now in this moment is the witness to what I'm saying. It is the valid proof as to showing anyone who's open to seeing it that they are choosing their perception, that they are choosing their experience. And then someone's mind might go to something extreme like, well, a child being raped, how is it that they chose that experience? And I'm not saying that they chose that experience, the circumstance of the experience per se, or the happening of the event of being raped or being involved in something where someone was doing something to them against their will. What I'm saying is, in the moment of whatever happening, whatever circumstance, and even after the fact, we always have the choice to think what we want, to experience what we want. A lot of people have a very difficult time with this. But this one thing that I'm saying, in my opinion, in what I've observed and witnessed and experienced myself personally, is the only thing that we as humanity need to get. If we can get this one thing, we will literally be set free. We will literally not need a governing system to tell us how we should and should not live. We really wouldn't need religion to tell us how we should and should not live. And I'm not making either one of those things wrong either. I'm just saying that as human beings, we would not need something or someone telling us how we should and should not live. If we could literally get the beauty and the perfection and the awesomeness of what we have given to us in every moment, the gift of free will. And I'm going to use an example of, like, my friend Sherry always tells this to me and reminds me of it. Viktor Frankl. I don't really know too much about him, but what I know of him is what my friend Sherry has shared with me. And to me, it stands out in a beautiful explanation of what I'm saying. He was a Jewish Nazi prisoner in a Nazi concentration camp in that time in Germany. And one thing that she told me that he would say in his book was, no matter what was going on around me, no matter how many people were dying around me, being tortured, no matter what conditions they had placed on us, they can never take away my ability to think whatever I wanted to create whatever experience I wanted to create based on the thoughts that I choose to have. No one can ever take that away from me. And that's what I'm talking about right there. And if we can start to explore that a little bit more, we can start to see just how awesome that is in many, many ways. And I'm just going to take it down the road of ancestry. Even in the road of ancestry. Our ancestors' beliefs and ideas, identities, all these things that were formed from thought, the choice to think something and choose to believe it over and over again, which created an ingrained belief structure, an identity that is so hidden from someone's awareness that it just is reality, hands down. That kind of thing. The kind of thing where, yes, this is a table, it's hard, it's wood. That kind of reality, where I believe in something so much that is fact. But really we have to ask ourselves, is it really a fact? Is a belief and an identity and a perception, can it be a fact? And the answer is, I'm going to answer it for you. No, it's impossible for it to be a fact. And all facts are really completely equal to everything. They're innocent. They're neutral. They don't have any charge on them. The only charge that is brought to a fact is the meaning that we bring to it. And charge is a very important word with what I'm talking about. Because when we have a charge on something, we literally affect the molecular structuring, the vibrational frequency of that. This is how powerful our thoughts are. And I'm going to ancestry again because if you think about it, our thoughts have that kind of a profound effect on our neurology, which affects our cells, which affects our organs, our muscle tissues, our bones, our joints, our overall functioning system as a human being, human body, which goes deep into the DNA. And if you've got certain thought patterns and belief systems being passed down from generation to generation to generation ancestrally, there's a DNA element that is being formed. And this is why genetics and DNA, and I'll say allergies, diseases, things of that nature, that we can't explain in this life per se, or we say it's hereditary. It gives a lot of explanation to hereditary if we can start to make the connection to what thought patterns have been passed down, have been learned, have been conditioned through our genealogy, through our generational relations, and through the attraction mechanism that brings mommy and daddy together based on belief systems and the law of attraction. And you start to look at the perfection of that and how awesome it is. Instead of being a victim of it, which is also an awesome choice to create that experience, we can choose to empower ourselves and become more aware of the thoughts that we're actually having. The reactions are the things that we need to really watch and be aware of. The reactions of like when someone does something and I automatically just get pissed off. And then I say, "You pissed me off." Is that possible? Is it possible for someone to really piss me off? Or is that just a choice that I've made so deep inside my mind that it has become a chemical and neurological response, or better yet, reaction, to something that I have already preconceived, chosen to believe that I need to react that way in order to survive, protect myself, thrive, and live, based on a chosen identity or a learned identity. Could be through ancestry. Parents are our first teachers. Mother being the first one in the womb. Whatever emotional energy was absorbed in that whole process of conception and development. And on and on. Then you've got society, you've got teachers, you've got school, you've got friends, you've got aunts, uncles, cousins. All these influence of energy based on thought being lived out through action, behavior, and interaction, relationship. We can start to reel it back in and then be real with ourselves about, no, that person didn't piss me off. I chose to be pissed off because of a belief system that I have chosen to hold on to and live out of. And if I'm holding on to a belief system that is having me automatically react to situations in a very cleverly genius way of twisting it around to where I can justify blaming someone else for an emotion that I'm inducing on myself, for an experience that I'm inducing on myself, and choosing to cleverly, manipulatively make someone else responsible for that, which is really, in essence, when you look at it, literally impossible, because no one can have an experience for me but me. No one can choose my experience for me but me. I'm doing that all the time, as is everyone else in the world. When we can start to get real with this on this level, and we start to observe ourselves honestly and courageously, to look at the ugliness, the darkness, the lies, the things that we're embarrassed to even admit, all that stuff needs to come up if you really want to be free, if you really want to be the one that is the ruler of your domain, and if you really want to be the one who can actually create an inspirational effect on others, not that others are deemed victim to your choices and your behaviors, but to be an influence, to teach. Like you're always teaching, we're always learning, but to teach on a higher level of consciousness and awareness, of being able to teach love, by loving yourself first, by being willing to look at all of the nonsense that we've accumulated and conditioned ourselves to in our own minds. And that we only create our own level of imbalance and disease, and broken relationship, and anything else that is a part of experience. Anything that has anything to do with experience, which is our choice, that we're creating all the time. Then we can start to unravel this whole confusing, conflicting situation that we seem to be finding ourselves in these days, collectively and individually even. Because really what we all want, and I know this in my heart, I know this because I see it every day. What we all want is peace and happiness and fulfillment and relationship. We all want that. It's our nature. When we're born into this world, that is naturally what we want. We want affection. We want comfort. We want love. We want to be fed. We want to be clothed. We want to be taken care of. We want to have connection and interaction in a peaceful, loving, harmonious, safe, comforting way. In a beautiful way. That's what everyone wants. When you think about it, this is really what everybody wants. And at the same time, in a very ironic, weird way, it's what's driving everyone to be insane and to fight with each other. Because underneath all that, everyone's just really crying out for the peace, for the happiness. But they think they're going to get it in, I don't know, whatever they think externally is going to fulfill that. When really that can only be fulfilled from within. And that's when we start to check our own thoughts, our own perceptions, our own minds that we are really living out of, the state of mind that we're living out of, that is only the thing that is creating our experience. And this, when we can start to do this with ourselves, then we have to start to develop a compassion for ourselves, because we're going through a process of awareness, forgiveness, love, letting go, choosing anew, by really starting to retrain the mind so that we can start to listen to the heart. And I don't mean physiologically. I'm talking about becoming aware on all the levels of intellectual conditioning that we have immersed ourselves in and exposed ourselves to and received as the truth, to cut through all that, to feel what we need to feel, to experience what we need to feel to go through that, to have the courage and the humility to be willing to do that, to start relearning how to naturally listen to our hearts, which is really our nature. We've gone so far away from our nature, we don't even know what it is anymore. We've got concepts and ideas and lots of books and spirituality and things like that, but all too often, and I'm just as guilty of this as anyone else, we hide behind it. We create another identity, another facade, another mask. Let's just stop it. And the only thing that we can do is really ultimately love ourselves. If we know what loving ourselves really is, then guess what? You don't need someone to love you in order to feel loved. You don't need to love someone else in order to feel like you're doing something good. It happens naturally. When you truly authentically love yourself and you're willing to really look at yourself in that capacity of full love, full exposure, nothing hidden, like being willing to embrace the horrible mistakes and decisions that we've made in our life, and to be able to forgive the judgment we have on ourselves about those, and instead replace that judgment with a lesson, and be able to love ourselves by living out that lesson and even sharing it with others. I've been a very ignorant and stubborn person my whole life, very angry, judgmental. I grew up choosing to hate myself, choosing to believe that I wasn't good enough, choosing to believe that something was wrong with me. And because I chose to believe that, I perpetuated that experience throughout my life, through every relationship, through every experience that I have, which is what I chose. And I couldn't understand it. I was like, man, my life is just hell. How can I make my life better? And I tried steroids, I tried drugs, I tried women, I tried all kinds of things. Believe me, if it's out there, I pretty much tried it. And then I even tried searching spiritually, reading books, going to workshops, lectures, trainings, retreats. Ended up in prison. Yeah, there's a whole slew of experiences that I've gone through. my point being that I had to get real with myself that I was the only one that was doing it to myself. I wanted to believe that it was my ex-girlfriend that cheated on me, or my mom that, you know, thought that I wasn't good enough when really it was me thinking that. And I had to work really hard, and I still am working very hard. It's an ongoing daily process of learning how to love myself, because the self-hate runs so deep. And it's one of those ancestral things. And I think it's even a human thing, where many of us have a self-hatred that is so deep underneath so many layers of other things that we're not even aware of it, or we're unwilling to even recognize it, or go there, or be curious enough to even see if we are possibly. So my expression is that I believe heaven on earth is possible. I believe that that happens only when we are willing to really truly love ourselves on the level of self-honesty, to where we are truly willing to look at all the ugly, scary things that are completely opposite and unlike to what love actually is. And when we're willing to really take responsibility for that and own it, and be willing to admit that we were wrong about it, be willing to admit that my judgment about someone else has nothing to do with them, and it has everything to do with me. And because I'm judging them, it's really me trying to avoid looking at what I need to within myself, because it's a projection of what I'm denying or in denial of. That's why this world can be the most beautiful opportunity in every moment to heal, to love, to grow, and to create heaven on earth, if we can utilize it in a wise and aware and willing way. If we're willing to be aware of ourselves in the way that we are seeing others, the way that we are seeing the world, the way that we're seeing ourselves even in the world, in relationship to anyone. If we're willing to really watch our reactions to everything, if we're really willing to watch how we are so cleverly making the world and other people and the president or the government or the food administration or Monsanto or the oil companies or whatever it is that you got shit with, whatever it is that you got energy on, if we're willing to look at that in a reflective way, in a way of like, instead of judging and being right about it and being so like, yep, that is the truth. Instead, look at it like, why would I want to create that experience for myself of hatred, of anger, of disappointment, of depression, of anxiety, whatever else comes about in regards to that whole experience that you're concocting yourself based on choice. Instead, we need to start reversing it and utilize all the judgments that we have about the president, Monsanto, the food administration, the education system, the medical system, whatever it may be, all these things that we've got energy on. The guy next door to me who said something that I didn't agree with. Start to look at that as a beautiful opportunity to look at yourself and why you're choosing conflict. Because you're the only one experiencing that conflict. Someone else might be experiencing a conflict in regards to the same thing, but they are the only one that is experiencing that conflict. And you are the only one that's experiencing the conflict that you're experiencing based on whatever it is that you are perceiving from outside of you and making that thing outside of you you think is outside of you responsible for it, which is impossible. We have the power with choice and free will to shift our perception. And that is the thing that creates our experience and creates our living relationship with anything and everything, with anyone and everyone. It's a way of behaving. Our perception will then venerate our behavior, being. It's not that we have to formulate a certain way to act, and then our perception is going to shift. We need to check in and really be honest with ourselves, because we're the only one that we can be honest with. How am I viewing this? Is it causing peace or conflict? Is it from a place of love or fear or doubt or hate or any kind of resistance or separation? And love being something that is so pure and so strong and so powerful that it can take anything. Love transforms everything. Love is the thing that will embrace anything and everything, will allow anything and everything, will tolerate anything and everything, because it's that powerful. Love is the only thing that has allowed us to create anything and everything that we have experienced, because it's freedom. It is ultimate freedom. Freedom in choice to create whatever it is that we want. Even the freedom to choose to create doubt, hate, fear, limitation, separation, conflict, war. All these things are byproducts of love when you think about it. Because love is the only thing that really exists. And in the reality of love, love allows anything. With love, anything goes. With love, anything goes. Even the ignorance of love. When we can start to look at our own ignorance, which is the fear, the doubt, the judgments, the separation, the conflict, the war, on any level, no matter how subtle or how gross, then we're going to start to really become powerful. And when we can become powerful in regards to what true power is, not false power, not a power of from a sense of lack where someone feels like they need to control or dominate someone else or something else. That's not power, that's weakness. Power is actually empowering others. Power is allowing others. God is powerful because he allows all this, and he is unaffected by any of it. And in his allowing of all of it, and in his ineffectuous, ineffectiveness of all of it, by not being affected by any of it, there's love in that. So it's really about waking up to our own ignorance, to our own arrogance. Not making Donald Trump wrong because we can recognize that he is ignorant and arrogant. Because if we're making him wrong and we're judging him, and this is just an example, I'm not saying this is my opinion, but I'm just using it as an example. If we're doing that, we're just as ignorant, because we're still perpetuating the ignorance and the arrogance and thinking that our judgment is right, just because we see that what he's doing is wrong. So how do we correct that? Use Donald Trump to your advantage. Use Donald Trump, or whatever it is whatever your Donald Trump is that you have issues with. Use it as your own medicine to heal yourself. What is this showing me that I am unwilling to recognize and own and take responsibility of within myself? How can I love myself enough to where Donald Trump has no power over my domain? Donald Trump has no power over my experience of life. Donald Trump cannot shake me from my peace, nor can anything for that matter, because I love myself. I love myself unconditionally and completely, to the degree that I'm not going to allow anything to affect that. Or better yet, I'm going to be aware and intelligent enough to know that nothing can affect that other than my choice. And I'm going to be so committed and determined and disciplined in my choice to be at peace and to be loved, because that's the only thing that makes sense. Why would you not? To where I'm going to choose to not let these things affect me, and instead I'm going to be effective. Effective. Learn to be in relationship with yourself first. Then learn to be in relationship with others by how you've discovered being in relationship with yourself, by always checking in with the thoughts that you're choosing to have, which are creating your perceptions and your experience. Loving yourself is the answer. And when we can all get that, we will bring ourselves back into the reality of being able to literally experience heaven on earth. That's my expression. Thank you, and aho.